Could Wisconsin actually have the best portal class? Is it LSU? It depends on how somebody looks at it. We're going to break that down right here on the Portal Podcast.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day right here on the nation's #1 podcasting network, Locked On. Again, I am Brian Smith, and thank you very much for joining. I'm actually in the middle of moving my all but empty apartment as I get ready to leave as my backdrop, in case you're wondering why it looks like it does, but that'll be changing over the next week or so. We'll talk more about that here soon. Right now, though, I am in the midst of going through I have so many chicken scratches here next to Wisconsin, Ohio State, LSU, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Texas Tech, Cal, Kentucky. Like, it is an incredibly nuanced transfer portal transition, if you will, for analysts like myself. I was at Battle Miami this weekend. I work with Coastline Stars. It's a great organization. We do 7-on-7, and I was talking to Tom Loy and for Chad Simmons and Andrew Ivins. So on the phone with John Garcia Jr., talking to different NIL people, talking to different coaches, all of this stuff, everything we do, the portal comes up in every one of my conversations. So my take here today is understand that this is as broad as it gets, and there really isn't just one way to evaluate who the #1 class is, because I have different categories. Are you a team that realistically has a shot at the 2026 national title before you started getting commitments? As a fan, I know fan is short for fanatic, but look at it from an objective angle. Where are you as a program? Did you meet your needs? Did you understand what was needed in terms of, okay, not only did we meet them, did we overspend? What's our budget? Do we have the NIL backing from the boosters or like the collective to make it happen, in addition to the money, the $20.5 million that the NCAA lots for the school? I know it gets complex. Believe me, it does for anybody that covers recruiting as well. You are not alone. If it confuses you, it confuses me as well. And to that end, here's something to kind of look at. This is just part of it. Okay. Did you meet your needs? That's part of it. And did you meet your needs at least close? Let's look at it from that perspective, because the portal's not over. Maybe I should have led with this as a reminder, so I'll do it now. The portal ended for getting into the portal, except for Miami and Indiana, because they play tonight. They get, I don't know, what is it, 5 days or something after the game, the next few days, whatever, for those players that they want to leave that institution and go join another program. But are you at least close? Because now it's all the signings. More guys are unsigned than are not. So again, did you meet your needs to date? Secondarily, if you have not, how close are you? And again, what is your budget? Did you meet those needs in that sense? Okay, maybe we're in a spot where it can happen. It can work for us. Maybe it's not. Be objective. Think about whatever team you root for. I'm going to use Wisconsin as a big barometer here in a second, but I want to go over these. Secondarily, impact players. This never changes. Recruiting, junior college, transfer portal. It does not matter. Did you or did you not gain impact players? And at what spots? We all know the key positions if you follow football: quarterback, offensive tackle. Did you get a special receiver? It doesn't matter if it's a flanker, slot, maybe it's a flex tight end, who I really think are more receivers, or that boundary guy that's so hard to find, that 6'3.5", 210-pound guy. Did you get anything like that? What about corner? Did you get a 6'1" guy that, man, I wish we had him last year? Did you get a free safety that's a special player because mentally he can set it up? Maybe he's that special player. Free safety is not normally on that list, but if it's a dude, okay, that's fine. Then, of course, DN and D tackle, that's never ending. You can never have enough. Even back in the heyday of Florida State in the late 90s, Bobby Bowden on National Signing Day said one time they had like the top class. I wish we got another D lineman. I'm like, really? That's how important they are. So everybody needs D linemen. Then finally, this is just something looking at, especially those guys that donate money, those gals that donate money. Did your program reach that point where whoever your biggest rival is, did you surpass them in any way, shape, or form, specifically with the portal? And again, the kids have gone beyond the point where they can get in. Now it's about the signings. Where are you now? Where do you think you're going to be? Look at your rival. If you hate the team, like if you're a Ohio State fan, you want to look at what Michigan's doing. Michigan's got some players. They retained some really good players. And I know we're on the border. There's a lot of ways to evaluate this. So with that, I want to kind of go back into the baseline here. Let's talk about Wisconsin's class and use it as a parameter. And then we'll go down the list, LSU, Notre Dame, et cetera. And I want people to comment in the chat. Here in just a sec. I'll go through Wisconsin first, then I'll jump into it. After each one, I'll go into the chat a little bit, add questions, and just have some fun with this. Wisconsin has 31 guys per 24/7, and that may be off by one or two. Not everybody's updated. They've got 7 for Notre Dame as an example, but they don't have the kicker. It's actually 8. Now, it's hard to keep up. Got to love the people 24/7, on 3, et cetera, for trying to keep this stuff going. I would not want that job, by the way. That's got to be really hard. To that end, here are the things that I like about Wisconsin's class and why I think it's a game changer as a program they're not a national title contender next year. Let's be realistic, but I think they're going to make a massive jump. Like I have hammered Wisconsin for 2 years. Right here, this guy. No ifs, no ands, no buts. A lot of Wisconsin fans don't like it when I come on Ryan Herring's show, but at the same time, there's a reason that I said what I did. They didn't spend enough NIL. I don't know who the booster or boosters are. That has changed. And they went out and got 6 DBs. And I'm really excited about Javon Robinson, 5'11", 180-pound guy out of Arizona State. I think he's a guy that can come in not only from a production standpoint. He's last 2 years, 660 snaps, and then this past year, 659. So obviously he's played a lot of football. He's got a 67.9 grade per PFF in terms of coverage. That's pretty good. Arizona State, I don't think he had a lot of help. Probably not the greatest front 7, stopping the run, et cetera, making it more difficult. If he'd have played at his team like Georgia or LSU or somewhere that had more guys around him, his grade probably would have been higher. I think he'll come in and play, and that's just a barometer. But while they did good, and this is why I brought it up just a minute ago, what did you not do, or are you done, or are you still working on something? And this is something I'm going to talk about with, unfortunately, the vast majority of teams. Offensive tackle. Did you get a guy that you know has production? Right now, Wisconsin does not. They're a growing team. And I'm not saying they should jump into the Jordan Seaton transfer portal sweepstakes. By the way, that's grotesque. I'll talk about that briefly here in a minute when I get to LSU. But overall, 31 guys, 6 DBs. I've talked about Wisconsin on the outside numerous times. They don't have the guys. They don't have the guys. They need more. They went and got 6. That's going to help. I think 4 corners, most likely. Again, guys can change positions, nickel, all that. So we'll just leave it at DB, because even if they're projected a corner, that can definitely change. But that's a program next year. Like Notre Dame opens with them. Originally, I thought Notre Dame would just steamroll them. With this portal class, that game could be very interesting, especially being first game of the year. You just never know about that. They got DBs now. By the way, Notre Dame's receiver room is going to be gross. So that will be very interesting in what I thought otherwise was going to be Notre Dame throwing for 350 and winning like 42-17 or something. That's not going to happen now. They brought in the talent. And again, give credit where it is due. Wisconsin went and spent the money. Boosters backed it up. Not every group does that. I don't know how many off-the-record conversations that I have had. But I'd like a nickel for every one of these where I've heard, I was told that we're going to spend more this coming off. See, like during, October or something, the team is not doing well. And Wisconsin obviously did not have the year that they wanted, being extremely kind. And then when it gets to that point where it's time to actually spend some money, well, it's not going to happen. And the reason that it's not going to happen is it was all fake. Wisconsin's backing it up based on who they got. And also, very importantly, where at. Corner matters, man. That's just one example. And safety too. They got a few receivers. Shamar Rigby kid, somebody I know. I want to talk about him just briefly. That's 6'3", roughly 200 pounds. He had 25 catches, 351 yards, and a score this past year at Oklahoma State, and they were a disaster. If you think Wisconsin was bad, check out Oklahoma State this past year. That was a complete adjunct disaster. They don't get kids like him either. So Wisconsin is my favorite team in terms of moving up the ladder. When we come back, we'll talk about some other teams, but just full autonomy. Cal, Kentucky, Oklahoma State. I want to get guys that know those teams personally, especially Locked On Oak State. My guy runs that pod. We'll talk about them on another day, but Wisconsin, I've studied enough. I know Ryan Herring's enough. I felt comfortable saying right now, hey, give them credit. This is a program that's taken it to that next step. And I did not anticipate that at all. And good for them, because we need more balance in college football. Wisconsin winning 4 or 5 games should not be the norm. And I think the portal, they've learned how to use it. They should be a team that goes to a bowl minimum 7 games next year, unless something just really goes wrong. Winning 8 games next year is not out of the question for the Badgers. And again, that is really good stuff. When we come back, I want to talk about teams that have a chance at the title, what they've done so far to help themselves get in that position. That is next, right here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. We are to the championship game of the college football playoff, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get on the action during game day. And this is the last college football playoff game day. So check it out. FanDuel users get a profit boost when you get inside the FanDuel app. So if you want to ride with Indiana, last I saw they were 8.5 point favorite. I don't know what it is now, but it's right around there, depending on how you want to do it. But there's also quarters. You can bet on player props. If you want to ride with Miami, take the points. If you want to go just how many yards Mark Fletcher, whatever you want to do, that's up to you. FanDuel is the best place to get in the action all playoff long. Visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff boosts on game day. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day. And if you want to take it to the next level, check out the Everydayer Club. It's pretty simple. If you want to take your pods on the go, you will use Spotify like I do, or Apple, or Podbean, or anything else, Amazon Music, doesn't matter. Get your podcast with no ads, $5 a month or $50 for the year. We also have Discord. I just started really getting into that. We've got a main group, etc. It's down in the description below. You get more information about how the ad situation works as well. Just click the link down in the description. It will explain it. Check out the Everydayer Club. All right, now let's talk about the opportunity for some teams to, for lack of a better term, kind of jump up, kind of take that next step, because they're in the hunt. There's different ways to look at it. I'm going to touch on LSU first, just as a list here. Again, this could be off by a little bit. Just using 24/7's numbers, they had 38. But again, full disclosure, like Notre Dame's at 8. The last I saw, they didn't have the kicker added. Maybe there's one guy for LSU that decommitted, or they added somebody since I started this pod when you listen to this. But 38's a lot. All right, 38 is a lot. But did you get guys that you wanted at positions that you needed? They needed to address offensive line and the Jordan Seaton thing on just tip of the iceberg. That's the next point I'm making in about 30 seconds. But they got Levitt. They've got 9 receivers, including Winnie Watkins coming over from Ole Miss, who knows the offense. Guys from G6, guys from P4. A lot of transferring in and out of receiver, and I trust Kiffin with receiver as much, if not more, than any other head coach in college football. He used to be a receiver coach at USC back under his days at Troy with Pete Carroll. So he knows that very, very well. But the thing that I like best about them is probably something that kind of goes under the radar, because it's not as sexy, but it's one of the most important positions other than quarterback and offensive tackle, and that is defensive tackle. It's a young man that I know. Auburn defensive tackle Malik Blockton. He's a kid that didn't go very far to head to Auburn, but now he's headed to the other Tigers down in Baton Rouge. Malik blocked at 6'3", 300 pounds. He's got 2 years of experience. He played right away for the Auburn Tigers and played quite a bit this past year too. So he had 413 snaps, 12 pressures, a sack, 7 stops. He's just learning. And Auburn had a lot of playmakers around. He had Falk on the end. Holy cow, that guy was unbelievable. He had X at linebacker. He's as good at linebackers in the league. So he was fighting for tackles. That was a top 15 defense by just about any metric. And he was right in the middle of it. He was a key cog in that. Now he's heading to LSU. They lost Guillory and they lost a few other guys up front. Defensively, I was a little unsure. I spoke to Richard Anderson and Lamar Brown at the Under Armour All-American game, just, hey, what do you guys got coming in? And they said receiver and D-line. We're like, hey, they're going to have to rebuild through the portal. And it's 100% right. Lamar's the one that said that to me. 2 weeks later, here we are. And boom, LSU's in that boat. And again, Blockton's a kid I know, great guy, has the size. He's played in the SEC. He knows what it looks like. Ironically, LSU goes to Auburn next year, so he'll get to play against his old team. But if you're an LSU fan, 6'3", 300, experienced, SEC, production, highly recruited kid, just a good dude to be around, this is the kind of guy you want representing your program. I think this is one of the most underrated pickups there is, because how many D tackles out there that fit all of those things? And in particular, experienced in the SEC, multiple years, by the way, and productive. He played 413 snaps for an Auburn team that was, obviously their offense stunk. That defense didn't. It was really good. If you're an LSU fan and you're not excited about Blake Blockton, why? Now you should be. If you learn nothing else, that's the key. Now, Jordan Seaton, I only have one concern. How do they get this done with all the structuring and the NIL? You get $20.5 million with Levitt coming in, getting $5 million or something like that. How do you do that? It's just the logistical side. But as a player, I know Jordan Seaton because he played at IMG. He's originally from DC. Great guy, super personality, hard worker, takes his craft to the utmost seriousness. He changed his diet. He was like 330 or something like that. He came back the next summer, and I saw him. I'm like, Jordan, what did you do? And he told me what his diet was. Like, this went all in before his senior year of high school, and he's just matured. This is a guy that will be first or second tackle taken off the board after next season, the 27 draft, in my opinion. If he goes to LSU, and this is the rarest of the rare, if you take 30 portal guys or more, you're probably not in the hunt. There's too much change, all of that. But as Kiffin is the quote-unquote portal king, I could see this being a team that could end up in the top 5. They're a boom or bust because, again, you take that many guys, it may not mix well. But it's not going to be a talent issue. And if they get Seaton, you'll have the quarterback, you'll have the left tackle, you got Blockton at D-tackle. You already had DJ Pickett at corner. Good luck. This kid I've covered since 8th grade. He's a dude. You have the makings of a team that can make a run. Now, I know he's not a portal guy. I just want to throw that out because he's one of my favorite players to watch. Watch what Kiffin does with Trinidad Green, by the way, the tight end. With those receivers around, if he's getting singled next year, he could be the most productive big play tight end in college football. Elite talent. Love watching that kid play. Think he has special gifts. With all the people around him, and Sam Levitt doesn't care where the ball goes. He distributes. The pieces could look really good on paper and still not come together at most schools. But with Kiffin, I trust him way more. Again, over 30 guys, most teams I would throw out for any chance to win the title. But he just did a great job with that Ole Miss team. They had 29, 31, something like that. This past, I think it was 31. That worked. So he's proven it. He's one of the very few that can do that. So I think LSU is going to be very, very important. Let's talk about what's going on in chat. Oh, wow. I got a lot more comments in there than I had realized. Hello to everybody. I'm glad everybody's saying hello. What's going on, Raymond? Hey, what's going on, Fighting Irish 86? Yeah, I'm going to talk about Notre Dame here in just a minute. It's a lot of fun. Yep, Gulf Shores, Raymond. I am in the middle of moving to Gulf Shores. I'm still in Auburn. This is my Auburn apartment. I'm not done here for another week or so technically, but I've got 90% of my stuff down in Gulf Shores. Got a few more trips to make, but really fun. Teddy looked good in the tape you posted. Yes. Teddy Gerard going to Notre Dame was the quarterback with Coastline this weekend, and he's awesome. He's our quarterback. Good dude. Gerard, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see what we got about the portal. Katie. You can always tamper with or poach a quarterback under contract, promise him a place to live in the country, plus $10 million. Then after you do that, you get some more players on your roster that never even enroll. Nothing like the portal. Raymond, Wisconsin being good is good for college football. Post of the day. Look, man, we need balance in college football. At least some. Doesn't have to be the same 8 to 12 schools. But right now it kind of is. If a team like Wisconsin, I can use some other examples too, Texas Tech, obviously, step up. Arizona State. How about down in the South? Did anybody think that Vanderbilt was going to do what they did this year? I never thought that would happen in my lifetime. It makes it more fun. It makes it more intriguing. Think about this. In your lifetime before these past 2 seasons, when did you look at the schedule for a game day and say, Vanderbilt, oh, I can't wait to watch that game? Unless it was just your team and you just wanted to see how they played and pound Vanderbilt. No, Alabama, Texas, different game. You wanted to see how they could do. They ran all over Tennessee, made big. They did what they wanted this year. That's great for college football. I think Wisconsin could be that team. Colton Joseph, the quarterback coming in. Speaking of run, he is a freak. He had 179 yards rushing against Indiana this past season. So that's an intriguing team. What we got here? Running an OSU podcast this year must have been abysmal. Talking about Oklahoma State. Cody, my guy, he's as cowpokes as it gets, but he's also somebody that's very honest. Guns up, but honest about where he's pointing them, if you know what I mean. And he knew that season was over pretty quick, so I give him some credit. Bernie, Wisconsin is going to get dog walk. No one can cover Faison, Aeneas Williams, no one. Well, I don't know. Notre Dame could still beat him. Notre Dame's top 5, in my opinion, after this report. I'll talk about this, but I'm telling you, Wisconsin's going to be a totally different team. Let's see. Bag. Burning. SEC is trash except for Texas. That is not true. I think Georgia might have something to say about that. So would Ole Miss. What is your opinion of Mince's situation? I actually just spoke to Brian Driscoll about this and a few other people as well over the last 48 hours. It's a Warrior deal. Why does Miami have to tamper to get what they need now? 100%. There's nobody just in this situation is going to walk in the portal, then see what Miami's at. That's not how this works. Having said that, you have to remember that these contracts are not in front of my face, and I'm not a Warrior even if I was. So this is just opinion, doesn't mean a whole lot. There's Warriors in here far away, but to my knowledge, based on what's been posted, and this is secondhand, there is language in there that he cannot earn NIL unless it's under Duke. In other words, wear their gear, that stuff. If that's the case, they got to buy him out, and that money would have to be used against their money, their rev share, which means Miami could get around it. But boy, what a pain in the behind to do that because they've already spent a bunch of money for their roster this next year, yada, yada. I don't know how they would do that. It'd be pretty wild. Kiffin has nailed wide receiver every year. He's so good at evaluating wide receiver. So good. Minson can go sit on an egg. This portal is out of control. Too much tampering. Just about everybody tampers, bro. You ain't tampering, you ain't winning. I need to get a shirt that says that. Irish Gordian Knot. Notre Dame's best portal haul ever on the heels of the best recruiting class in the modern era. Freeman is on fire. That's fact, actually. Bo CJ62. SEC is fake. Exposed now. Well, they can't hide kids anymore. 5 stars ain't sitting on the bench in the SEC no more. That's why it's changed. Raymond Horton, 100%. Bernie. Notre Dame just got serious at D-tack on D-end, and their defense was already a top 2 defense in the last 9 games of the season. Let's see what they could do this next year. They got some different people on the staff, but that's going to be pretty interesting. Let's see. Notre Dame is ready to lead, no doubt, in 26. Katie, Duke needs to take Miami, Mario, and Mensah to court and throw the contract wall book at them. If Mensah doesn't play at Duke in 26, he shouldn't play anywhere. It's time to crack on tampering head coaches. Will the NCAA do that, Katie? That is my question. My guess is no. But I hope in some way, shape, or form, programs got to be held accountable, man. I mean, they really do. It just has to happen. I don't know what else to say to that because at some point we got to have some kind of transparency, like some, but I know it's not easy. The NCAA is in a tough spot, but at some point you got to hit somebody in terms of just directly tampering, not the player, the kind of like you guys did this, open records, all that kind of stuff. Like somebody's got to be exposed and dragged through the mud. I don't know who it's going to be, but somebody's got to do that. Just my opinion. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about a few more teams. I got Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Texas. We still got a long way to go here. Ohio State. A lot to get to right here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to hand things off and move on with your day. TurboTax full service. You can have your taxes done by you or for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without you having to go through all the guesswork and try to do something that, quite honestly, is not what you're good at. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out your forms and did you get all the different benefits you needed to get the most money back, have somebody do it that knows what they're doing. TurboTax. They can handle everything, W-2s to self-employed forms, and work to get you every single deduction. For a limited time, you can even have your taxes done by a local expert for $150, all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file your taxes last year, just file by the 28th of February. Take tax season off your plate. Get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right, let's talk about a few more teams that are a lot of fun and really interesting. I want to do two back-to-back here, and then I want to hit Ole Miss and touch on LSU again because whether we want them to be or not, they're tied. There's no doubt. And Ohio State is kind of my finisher team. Texas and Notre Dame are the two I want to talk about next. They didn't need a lot. It's Texas and Notre Dame. Neither one of them made the playoff, but I will be shocked if both of them aren't a top 6 seed next year. And here's why. Returning quarterback. That certainly helps. Offensive line, going to be a little more experienced at Texas. They certainly needed it, and we'll get into their situation specifically momentarily. Notre Dame's going to have maybe their best offensive lineman talent-wise back next year. So there's a lot of things going for both of them. And while Notre Dame lost an incredible player in Jeremiah Love, and Texas, I mean, they lost some good players too. They both have really good running back rooms, receiver rooms. Like Cam Coleman's going to Texas. Notre Dame got Quincy Porter from Ohio State and several other guys. Like they found a way, unlike Wisconsin, they didn't need 20 players or 30 players or whatever. They needed specific players and then some depth pieces. Texas took more than Notre Dame, so let's start with them just for fun. But it's the same strategy at UT as it is at ND. So Texas here, this is what I really like. And I apologize if I mispronounce this name, but he played at Wake Forest, and he is an offensive tackle that can pass pro, a really good one. If you find any offensive tackle that's even average or has upside, you're probably ahead of the curve, which is kind of sad. But Melvin Sinai, 6'6", 302, PFF grade in pass pro last year with 78.8. That is borderline just straight up elite. I know he's in the ACC. It's not Big Ten like Michigan, or in the SEC like Tennessee, but it's still a high grade. And if you're on the island, I don't care if you played right or left, that's hard. 78.8 grade, you could take it for whatever it's worth. That's impressive. He's got a couple of years left of eligibility technically, but if he's that good, he'll play 1 year at Texas and be at the draft. You know, I think that's how you pronounce it, but that right there to me is as important, if not more important. And I know the next player, great kid, great talent, even more important than Cam Coleman. And here's why. While Cam Coleman is total dude, there just aren't any offensive tackles in the portal. You go, oh, this guy. We got a shot at all of them. They can come in and help us right away, yada, yada. Bull. That's not the way it works. That's complete bull. There just aren't enough tackles in the portal, offense or defense, honestly, to make that move. There's not. So to that end, give Texas credit. Now, they also went out and got some defensive players, but in particular, the guy I want to mention, God, this just shows how Oregon was loaded on the D-line. Blake Purchase, 13 pressures, a sack, 31 tackles, 16 stops as an edge. He's got 2 years of eligibility left, 6'3", 245, 309 snaps. Like he's going to Ole Miss next year. That kind of guy, Texas doesn't have to go get that kind of player. Like that's the player I'm going to talk about for Ole Miss here in just a minute. Texas has enough guys there. They just focused on very specific areas and added some pieces around. That's fine. But like Blake Purchase, I'm sure Texas would like him, but they didn't. It's not necessarily need. They've got guys still. They have arguably the best pass rusher in college football coming back. It's going to be interesting to see if Sinai, if he's that guy, is Texas number one next year? Possibly. We'll see. 2 years of eligibility, That's the key to me. Even over, if I go ahead and won, I'd have taken him over Cam, and I'm not saying he's a better player. It's the position. As to Coleman, 56 receptions, 708 yards, 12.65 scores, 714 snaps. Auburn's offense was trash, but he still had those numbers. He had some drop issues, but I think Sark's a great offense coach. They will be in a different situation with him. That's going to be very, very interesting. Notre Dame, they get Spencer Porath, the Purdue kicker, might be the most important guy for them because Notre Dame was dreadful at kicker. They missed 3 extra points against Boston College. That's hard to do. But they got Tiana Gray, the young man from Oregon, the 330-pound nose guard. Notre Dame never gets that guy. They got Francis Brew, the defensive tackle at Pitt, different kind of guy, a 3-tech that gets up the field and is disruptive. They got Miles Graham and Quincy Porter from Ohio State, 2 very talented young receivers, not yet proven, but they were throwing to that guy, Jeremiah Smith and Tate and Ennis, etc. They had some guys. Jaden Sanders played and started for Michigan as a true freshman part of the year, kid out of East Texas. They got him to transfer. They got D.G. McKinney, who started in college. He was at Oak State, then Colorado. He's another corner. And then they got Keon Keeley, a kid they had committed in high school, signed with Bama. Now he's coming. He got 2 years of age, but another edge guy. This is as good as it gets in terms of hitting everybody, only 8 players, but finishing it off. You could make a strong argument depending on if, and I don't know the answer to this in case anybody wants to bring it up in the chat, and I'm sure somebody will. I got some ND fans in here. If Charles Jagusa is completely healthy next fall, Notre Dame could be preseason number 1. For those you don't know, that is a complete animal, 330 pounds, can play guard or tackle, freak. But he's been banged up. If he's back and you add these guys to what they have coming in at receiver, they've got Aeneas Williams and other guys at right, they are loaded. You could make an argument Notre Dame's number 1. Conservatively, I think they're top 5. Same thing with Texas. If you want to make Texas number 1 next year, with CNI and Coleman and all these guys coming in and not having to go out and spend on a guy like I love the Blake Purchase pickup for Ole Miss. Talk about him in a second. If you get to that point, you're in a really, really good spot. So let's talk about Ole Miss just for a second. Just want to talk about Purchase, what that means. I assume Suntarine Perkins is going to leave. So Blake Purchase coming in is humongous. 6'3", 245 again. I mentioned him with Texas because they don't have to go get a guy like that right now. They've got multiple edge rushers that are dudes. They went offense. Purchase might be the defensive player nobody talks about that much because Oregon's so deep. Comes in as all SEC second team. He's going to get starter reps or to start. And Ole Miss is on that cusp. If they get Trinidad back, with this group, they got, again, I don't know if the number is exact by the time somebody's watching this pod, but it was 24 this morning when I did the notes. 24 guys, it'll probably be 30 when it's all done. They've got a balanced group, mostly SEC P4 guys that have played. They spent some money. I talked about at the beginning of the pod, Wisconsin throwing down the dollar bills, and they did. Ole Miss is the team to kind of watch now. They're a team that's trending, not there yet, but trending towards being a program that can compete for the playoff every year. They're recruiting better. We'll see how it goes. But Pete Golding is known as a recruiter. I'm not saying he's lame, but you got to prove that over time. You need at least 3 years to be graded on that. And this next season's year 1. So whatever. But his rep as an assistant is he goes and gets it. He knows front door, the back door, all that, dealing with Deep South recruiting. He's seen it all. Now he's the head coach, and he handled himself really well on the sidelines. They were definitely not out coached. That was just a great game against Miami. I think he's going to do something special there. And the Blake Purchase kid's just one example. I'm not worried about offense with them. Even if it's not Trinidad, Deuce is coming in and said they're going to be fine. If they can get kids like Blake Purchase consistently, they got DBs, they've got a little everything. This could be a top 5 team next year. Again, the whole Trinidad thing is the key to that. So we'll see. I want to touch on LSU again because there's so much going on there. I'm trying to avoid it till it's done. The whole tampering and all that, both those schools are tampering with each other. I don't want to hear one fan base or the other. Flat out. I deal with kids down in that area. I work with Coastline. There is zero chance that both schools aren't tampering with each other's players. Zero. I don't want to hear it, but I wanted to bring that up after I did Ole Miss. I don't know which one's doing it more, and I don't care, but there is nobody in college football that in some way, shape, or form is not tampering. 0. To that end, I want to see the end result with the Ole Miss LSU trade, if you will, not just staff, but players, before I decide who did what, who did better, who has a better chance as a roster. Right now, it's really close. LSU needed more because the coaching change, it's not as seamless as, hiring your defensive coordinator to become the head coach when Wayne took the LSU job after leaving Ole Miss and Golding taking over. So he had to take more high risk, but there's also more high reward. Like the reason he took the job, it's LSU. It's an easier place to win. That's not a newsflash. But I'm telling you, Ole Miss is the safer pick next year. If they get Trinidad, which am I going to rank higher? It's going to be Ole Miss. It's ironic because year one, even with Jordan Seaton, could LSU end up in the playoff and doing something? Yes. But they're pushing right now towards 40 portal players. That's a lot. It is wild. Finally, I just want to talk about Ohio State for a second. And this is a really interesting scenario because like Texas, like Notre Dame, Oregon, and a handful of other schools, they don't need quantity. They need specific talent that's going to get them over the top. And looking at Ohio State, 16 guys is what I have on my sheet, is what they've got. One major concern, as I did this pod, this could change during the time I'm doing it, 0 offensive tackles. Are they in on Seaton? Do they know something I don't know? Does an Ohio State fan out there know something I don't know? Because quite frankly, I don't see it. They need to take a step up because they got their lunch handed to them by Miami. It wasn't bad. This is the end of the season, and you got ran over up front. Ran over. And I think Miami's front's the best in the country with just a 4-man rush. Totally. But you all were unprepared. That's a Ryan Day offense. There's something goofy there. And as we go into this, I like most of their class. Don't get me wrong. Their portal class is good. But I put them last because I want to reevaluate in about a week to 10 days. Do they get an offensive tackle or a guard that I go, oh, okay, this dude's got to start. This guy's going to at least push the ball. And one more guy that he may not be the dude right away. But Ohio State has somebody that you go, okay, in a year or so, this is a guy that redshirted at some school like Tennessee or somebody who's a high 4-star or whatever. Did they get somebody like that, or a kid who played at the FCS that played a bunch but maybe needs to add another 10, 15 pounds to play for the Bucs? Okay, I can take that too. No O-lineman yet gives me a little concern. But what I do like, holy cow, James Smith, John Walker at D-tackle, that's about as good as it's going to get. James Smith is out of Montgomery, Alabama, played at Bama the last few years. John Walker played at UCF. He's a Kissimmee kid and went to UCF, and now he's up at Ohio State, heavily courted by a lot of schools. Quay Russaw, also James Smith's teammate in high school. Big-time player. I think they were both at Carver. It could have been Pike Road, but I think they were both at Carver in high school. Look, that front's going to be nasty. They got some guys coming back. They know what they're doing. I know they lost some guys, but Ohio State up front's going to be a lot of fun. Sarcasm to deal with. They could be a team that leads the nation in rush defense next season. The question I have, and this has nothing to do with the portal, it's about motivation. James Smith needs to play at a higher gear than what he has, at least part of his time when he was a Bama. He's more talented than what he's shown by a mile. He should have been 3 and out. He should have had a half dozen sacks this year and more production. Part of that's on Bama for not getting it done in their scheme. I don't think it's like Brady Rhodes still the coach of I'm putting this on the coordinator at Bama. I'm not worried about it at Ohio State. 0 is the problem right now, which is weird. And the defense is really good. And I know they're losing some pieces because it's Ohio State. They're going to lose guys every year, in particular Caleb Downs. But if you have D tackles like this coming in addition to what you have, there is no reason to think that Ohio State is not conservatively a top 5 defense in 2026. And we know about number 4 on the outside. We know about Julian Sayin hanging out in the backfield, spinning that thing. So throwing her up to Jeremiah. You got Ennis. You've got other receivers. The running back room with Bo Jackson. Ohio State's going to be really, really intriguing. They're not done. And just like with the rest of these guys, I'm just doing this. This is a podcast. See, what day is it? It's the 19th of January. Let's see where they're at like the 29th in like 10 days. If Ohio State can add an offensive lineman or two in terms of that group, that small group that they're trying to add portal pieces to win a title, they could be at or just below the very, very top. And with what they got coming back, that could make the Buckeyes the preseason #1 team in 2026. Let me jump back in the chat and we'll finish up there. Let's see here. Josh, Buff on the move. I know he's going to say unfinished business and leave no doubt. This is the nicest way possible. Notre Dame is letting him do this to fight back. Okay, that's fine. They're going to have several guys go pretty high, I'd imagine. Irish starting 2 NFL draft picks at corner this season. Both South Bend will be known as Pick Six City. Notre Dame's going to have a lot of choices to make a defense, but I'm not even sure exactly who's going to start other than Winter Moore from Notre Dame. They're loaded at DB. Bo CJ. Notre Dame is a top portal if you look at power ranking, 87.7. Texas is 79.9. Quality over quantity. Texas took 16. They're about done. Notre Dame, I think, is done, barring something unforeseen. So, yeah, I think both of them did really well. Notre Dame needed a little less. So I get what you're saying. They've led the country in interceptions this season already, and it'll be deeper this year. Notre Dame's secondary is going to be gross next year. When is the last time Georgia won a playoff game? Their best wins are all against trash SEC teams. Georgia is overrated. Well, they won the national title in 22, didn't make it in 23, and then they got beat by Notre Dame in 24, and then they got beat this year by Ole Miss. It's been a minute. But to say Georgia's trash is a little hyperbole there. These aren't employer contracts, folks. Yeah, that is an important thing to talk about, but for another day. Archie, you should have Brian Driscoll on your show. Go Irish. I actually talked to Driscoll this morning. Probably going to have him on the show next week. We need to see how some other teams shake out because Notre Dame's probably done. Got to have apples to apples comparison. That's all. Let's see. I call South Bend Pick City every year since Morrison went off. Let's see. Texas would need to pull a defense out of a magic hat. Look, they hired the right defense coordinator. I'm not worried about their defense. They hired the right. I'm not going to get into that's a whole offseason topic. I'll do like an hour show on Texas, probably. They're going to be a fascinating team. KD. I sure miss ethical head coaches like Richt. He's still a right way, and there's still a right way and a wrong way. Mark's a great guy. Bernie. Manning still needs to get smarter. He has to get the talent, but needs to get smarter. CJ Carr is the smartest quarterback in college ball. He has the autonomy to change any call at the line of scrimmage. Let's see. Oh, this is referring to Charles Jagiso. Raymond Horton. Jagiso's health is so important. 100%. You just don't know. Can't find 330-pound human beings that move like Big Charles. No reason Jagiso isn't back in shape by then. I completely agree. Notre Dame should come out number 1. Ohio State is not on 3 things. I think they'll be really good too. Revenge tour Notre Dame. I don't know about that. There's not many teams on their schedule next year for me to even care about. This is something I can do with Wes. Guys, in college football for 7 years is crazy, says Swanton Bomb 43. 100%. That's just weird, to be really honest. Let's see. Can't wait till Keon gets down to about 265 and Partridge works with him. Yeah, Charlie Partridge going to Notre Dame to be D-line coach. He's really good. NFL experience this year with the Colts, but he's a long-time coach. I think he was at FAU for a few years, the head coach. He was at Pitt for a long time. He is really, really good. Texas, Notre Dame for the 26th championship. They should have been in tonight's game if the college football put the best teams in the playoffs. Let's see. Keep Jagisaw away from UTVs. Yeah, he got hurt in the offseason. Let's see. Ohio State can't run, and now the Irish robbed them. They have depth at receiver. Notre Dame might have 1 or 2 starters from those guys. At least one of them, I would think, would end up starting a part of the year. Porter, Miles Graham, you never know. Let's see. Pay no attention to Bernie Bryan. He's our Cuba Gooding Jr. of Notre Dame fans. It's all good, man. It's all good. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Well, we've had a lot of fun with this, but it is amazing what the portal has done. Here's this good one though. Is there any team improved more at receiver than Michigan between their Utah transfers and Jamie French? I actually spoke to somebody about French yesterday. I'll explain that momentarily. Obviously, Coleman was the best pickup, but he's just one guy. I haven't delved into Michigan that much, but I will explain French. He's a kid out of Jacksonville that I've known since he was in 8th grade. He was a "are you kidding me" kid since he was about 13 years old. Went to Texas, didn't work out, transferred to Michigan. They paid him. He's the guy they want to take the top off the defense. He's going to be featured from day one. Look out for him. So it's just one of those things, man. Like, you can't teach speed. Jamie can make guys miss in a phone booth too. Michigan fans are going to like him. Great show, Brian. Thank you, Raymond. Appreciate it, brother. Hope all is well where you are. That's going to conclude today's live show of the Portal Podcast. Just having some fun here, hanging out in my apartment in Auburn, getting ready to finish up my move to Gulf Shores. But thank you very much for stopping in, and we're just going to continue to talk about Portal. Like I said earlier, Texas Tech, Cal, Kentucky. There are a lot of different teams that I still need to delve into and get to. Because every day, it's just a lot of details. It's too much to do them all at once. Obviously, there are 136 teams in the FBS. But thank you once again for checking out the Portal Podcast. Please like and subscribe. We will see you again soon.